Thanks for joining us tonight. Results now trickling in that the polls are close for Wisconsin's partisan primary election. Our chief political reporter, James Zimmerman, joining me at the desk tonight as the election officials gather the outcomes.
Votes are still being counted in the hotly contested race for the GOP nominee for the 8th Congressional District. 3 candidates are gunning for former Representative Mike Gallagher's seat, businessman Tony Weed, former State Senator Roger Roth, and State Senator Andre Jacques, all holding campaign events this evening. Weed leading the polls right now by a slight margin, 39 to 36%, with just over half the vote in at this point. We have Action 2 News crews at each of their campaign events as everyone waits for the results. We will rejoin them as soon as the final results are announced.
Meanwhile, on the other side of the aisle sits Dr. Kristen Lyerly as the race's sole Democrat. She won the party's nomination uncontested and will face the GOP nominee in November. Lyerly now waiting to find out who she will compete against for that seat. Tonight at her campaign rally, she says the energy she's seen at rallies and from supporters is something that hasn't been seen here in Northeast Wisconsin in a long time.
That's the thing that I'm excited about, and that's what we're hearing as we're knocking on doors, as we're making phone calls, as we're talking with people in Northeast Wisconsin. They're ready for change, and that's what we're bringing.
Businessman Eric Hovde winning the race in a landslide for the Republican nominee for the spot in the U.S. Senate. He has been running as the presumptive nominee for months. The race was called with less than 10% of the total votes counted. Hovde releasing a statement following the race saying, in part, quote, Tammy Baldwin has been in Washington for 25 years and things have only gotten worse. It's time for a change, end quote. He will face Democratic incumbent Senator Tammy Baldwin, who won the nomination uncontested. She's seeking a 3rd term in office.
Also watching 2 races for the state assembly where 2 incumbents will face off against each other just because of the new legislative maps that were drawn up ahead of today's primary election. Representative Elijah Behnke has represented the 89th district since 2021. He's facing Representative Peter Schmidt of District 6, and now with about 22% of the vote, and Behnke leading by 10 percentage points, 55 to 45%. Meanwhile, in the 55th district, GOP incumbents Nate Gustafson of that district and Michael Schra of the 53rd district are competing. Gustafson now with 38% of the vote in. Gustafson leading by 54 to 46% over Schra.
Voters also deciding not to include the first constitutional amendment about how much power the state legislature and governor have to spend federal money. Voters also deciding the same for the second question on the ballot, to not accept the constitutional amendment. Both of those, no votes passing overwhelmingly.